My name is Vivian, and I'm a Black woman coming to you from wild and wonderful West Virginia. The purpose of this podcast is to highlight the importance of self-care as an African American woman. My hope is to provide you with tips to help you feel whole, present, and like your best self. My professional experience as a Black woman in a predominantly white community and some of the conversations I've had with other Black individuals have inspired me to address this topic from a personal perspective. Today, I'm going to provide you with a basic overview of self-care and why it's so important for Black women to engage in it. For the past 2 years, I've held a leadership position at a domestic violence sexual assault advocacy agency, and I've learned so much about not only the movement, but about myself and the type of woman and leader I want to become. It's very uncommon for a woman of color to hold a leadership position in our society, especially in a mostly white community. It often feels like we have to work 10 times harder than others with little recognition, and it can be mentally and physically draining. Becoming a leader has made me come to terms with the fact that I tend to put other people's needs above my own, and then I want to wonder why I'm so unhappy. I'm sure someone who is listening to this can relate to that statement. I believe this is a common thing for Black women to feel. We are natural nurturers. We've been taking care of everyone around us for hundreds of years, so nurturing others is innate. It comes so naturally that we can forget to take care of ourselves. Self-care is the concept of taking the time to care for yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. It's so much more than bath bombs and shopping sprees, although those activities definitely help. So let's get into these reasons as to why self-care is so important as a Black woman. One of my favorite things to say to my staff is you can't pour from an empty cup. And in the great words of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell can you love somebody else? And I firmly stand by both of those statements. If you are not taking care of yourself, it's going to be a lot harder to help yourself and others. And it's going to be difficult to seek out and live authentically in your purpose. When you forget to be mindful of yourself and the way you're feeling, you're going to get to a point where you physically feel unwell, your mind is foggy, you're unhappy, you project negative feelings and emotions on others, and your confidence is low. All of this can lead to self-sabotage and put you in a negative mindset, which isn't healthy nor productive. Our society cannot afford for Black women to not be living in their purpose and achieving their goals. This all starts with a positive mindset and knowing what you value. Next, we're going to talk about how self-care can help address trauma. Self-care gives us the opportunity to examine our past traumas and analyze how those traumas affect our present. When we take the time to understand what has happened to us and what has caused us to react or behave a certain way, we can start to heal and develop healthy coping techniques. There is a lot of generational trauma in the Black community. We haven't really been given the opportunity or space to heal from what our ancestors experienced. From slave ships to slavery, New Jim Crow, the Civil Rights Movement, to today, where we have a president who encourages white supremacy. All the history in between reiterates the fact that we've always been given the short end of the stick, and we've had to be okay with it and move on without any apology or validation that bad things happened to us. Because of the unhealed trauma, unhealthy coping mechanisms and reactions were passed down from generation to generation. Reactions such as anger, resentment, aggression, distrust, the list goes on. We often react in these negative ways without truly understanding why, which is why committing yourself to self-care activities that can help you examine your triggers and negative thought process is so important for healing. It's imperative that we as Black women take the time to get to know ourselves and make decisions that help us live in a positive mindset so that we can pass that on to future generations. Spending time nurturing yourself gives you the opportunity to reflect on situations or relationships that aren't good for you so that you can decide to take a step back or change the way to react. Lastly, we're going to talk about how self-care leads to self-love and acceptance. When we take the time to fully know and understand ourselves, we can start to accept ourselves for who we are, flaws and all. We begin to realize that we are just like everyone else and we are worthy of the love and acceptance we so freely give to others. If you are constantly focusing on the negative and not tending to your mind, body, and spirit, you're essentially letting yourself down and abandoning yourself. Once you fully love yourself, that energy radiates from you and rubs off on the people around you. It becomes contagious, and those around you will want to feel as confident and as whole as you do. How beautiful would it be to do the work and share the tools that helped you with the people you care about the most? Self-love and acceptance ultimately help you step into your power and move away from things that disrupt your spirit and your vibes. Before wrapping up today's podcast, I do want to acknowledge the fact that self-care can be a little tough with COVID-19 and social isolation. Self-care is meant to enhance your life, not burden it, so please do what you can. Listen to your body and do what is best for you. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you're nurturing your mind, body, and spirit and making yourself a priority, you're doing a great job. To wrap up today's podcast, I just want to recap some of the reasons I shared about why self-care is so important as a woman of color. First, self-care allows you to take care of yourself so that you can help those around you without causing damage to yourself. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Self-care also gives us the opportunity to examine our past traumas and how those traumas are affecting the present. And finally, self-care leads to self-love. Black women in our society have it tough. I personally feel that Black women are some of the worst treated in our country and are constantly disrespected. It truly is a shame because we are so powerful, intelligent, and strong. But ultimately, what other people think about you doesn't matter. What truly matters is what you think of yourself and how you treat yourself. For the remaining episodes, we'll focus on specific activities and things you can do to nurture yourself and start the journey to self-love. I'm looking forward to helping you help yourself, and maybe I'll learn a thing or two along the way. That's this week's episode of Melanin Vibes. Don't forget to join us next time for a new episode. Thanks for listening.